here we are. This is Sex Love Psychedelics, and I'm your host, Dr. Kat, bringing you psychosexual conversations that will leave you intellectually turned on and hungry for more.
That's a really good point. To talk about our periods, I feel like we've become so accustomed to these the culture normalizing symptoms of PMS and saying like, oh, well, that's just a normal thing to be going through, that you're in pain or that you have really terrible cramps or that you get grouchy and moody right before. And then we write it off as normal, and then we never question that. What would you say is the difference between normal symptoms and symptoms that would suggest that there might be an imbalance, like we're saying?
Well, when we're talking about PMS itself, I think one of the easiest things to gauge is that does it interrupt your life? Do you ever feel that this is keeping you from living your life to the fullest? This is impacting your relationships. And same is true with your period. If it's keeping you from being able to go to work, go to school, like just do whatever you want. Like if it's keeping you from being able to do whatever you want, we've got a problem. And what's interesting about you saying like, this has been normalized is it's been normalized, yet we've been naming it, right? PMS is a diagnosis, but we treat it, women as if like this is just normal, to like your hormones make you crazy, right? It's like the mantra of every man that wants to hold us back. Of like, no, you can't do that. Your hormones make you crazy. I'm like, no, in fact, your hormones give you superpowers, okay? And you have no idea that you actually have the same hormones as us.
Yeah,
like
my pussy bleeds every month and I don't die. So if you don't think that that's strength or power or magic, I don't know what is.
Totally. And like, the fact that like our bodies were set up with the ability to create the future of our species and care for it. And like, there's so much power in our bodies and what they're able to do. And, anyone listening who's like, but I have no interest in having a baby, you still have creation capacity.
Sure.
You still have creation capacity, and that can play out in any way you want in your life, which is, I think, also amazing. But in all of that, talking about PMS, like when we go back and we think about these, like once upon a time it was hysteria. They're like your uterus is wandering your body. It just goes to your brain. It just like aggravates you. And then hysteria evolved to like PMS and TMDD, which, in one way is medicine recognizing like these are legitimate complaints, like this is a legitimate issue going on, except that a lot of times it's also handed down with a narrative of like, well, that's just part of being a woman. That's normal. If you don't want to deal with it, like, here's this medication, here's this, here's this medical intervention, which is great, I think, to have options, and we should have those options, especially as we talk about birth control. We absolutely should have that as an option. And there's also a bigger conversation at play of like, these things have a root cause. And when we're talking about these symptoms coming up, meeting them with curiosity is really what I would invite people to do, is to meet it with curiosity of what could this be telling me? Because you may have really bad PMS and that may be stemming from hormone issues, but at the very root of that, we could have chronic infections. We could have issues with past trauma that's unresolved, or a nervous system that just, it needs what our society is not giving it us permission for, which I think is like a big issue for women. And a big part of my message is that there's like, we're not the problem. The problem is a society that was built for men, with men in mind. And then we were told conform and adhere. And this is the norm. And anything else about you is not normal. You're like, and even medicine has been like, the standard, like the gold standard of a body is a man. And then we've got this inferior baby making like model over here. Like that's, nobody's better here. But the problem is that like, it's not you, it's the society you're being expected to just fit into. We just saw in 2022, Spain now is like, you know what? You're having a period, take the day off from work. Like, not a problem.
Yeah.
Like, why are we not doing this? Why are we not giving people permission? Because when we understand is like when you look at athletes, if you give them rest days, they can excel. Like there needs to be recovery phases, and athletes who are working with their menstrual cycle, hi, US Soccer Cup, like they're like the US soccer team is taking home the cup. and they're doing it working with their natural cycling hormones. I think that's phenomenal.
I love that idea. And my question would be, would the women take that time to rest if they had that day off, or would they take that time to get ahead? It's so ingrained.
I'm going to own that I would be the person that would be like, I can get ahead, or I will fill my to-do list. I've got a day off from work. I've got all this other stuff. And I feel like getting old and getting sick enough times and basically having my ass kicked by my own body enough times has taught me like, that is not the way. That is not the way. I'm feeling very Mandalorian in saying that is not the way, friend. And I think you're right about that. It is really ingrained. I think European culture is a lot different than the US capitalistic culture. I do think, though, we are finally seeing a shift away from, you know, the hustle culture, the sleep when you're dead. Whenever patients would say, like, to me, like, I'll sleep when I'm dead, I'm like, so you're trying to get there faster. Like, how soon are you trying to get to sleep? Because, like, you are going to fast track. I mean, I talk about this in the book. Is This Normal has like so many diagrams and charts and all kinds of things to break it down and just make it really easy to digest, and also self-assess in a way that will help you have a better conversation and advocate for yourself with doctors. But the sleep piece, I swear every time I talk about it, people are like, yeah, sleep's important. And I'm like, I finally was like, I am going to like make a diagram and I'm going to show how it upregulates insulin, how it creates inflammation, how you can have all of these thyroid issues, adrenal issues, ovarian issues by just not sleeping. And that is just one tiny, tiny piece of the big hormone impact that's really happening. So I would really hope that on your period that you, like, if your boss is like, take some time off, that you would take that time off. I also think in the post-pandemic world, we all should be able to work from home if our jobs are conducive to that. And if you're on your period, why not? Why not work from home and, you know, and rest if you need the rest. We need to hold space for that and have permission for that.
Well, that was fun. Thanks for tuning in, lovers. And if you want to experience more ecstasy and sexual liberation, head over to sexlovepsychedelics.com and learn about how you can join me for any one of my online or live events. And while you're there, grab my free guide on sex and psychedelics. Remember, this podcast is for entertainment and educational purposes only. Please contact your healthcare provider and local law before pursuing any of the products or psychedelics discussed. And one final note here. I make this show specifically for you. If you're loving the show, then be sure to leave me a review in iTunes or Spotify to let me know. Happy to be here and happy to serve. I'll see you next time on Sex Love Psychedelics.